Mheshimiwa Makilap, if you could switch off your mic. Makilap, switch off your mic, please.
Thank you so much, Chair. Like my colleagues, allow me to also take this moment to congratulate our senior colleague in the Parliament. I regard him as senior, being my first term in Parliament, and he's serving his second term. And the way he's with whole heart or passionately following up the issues of the country and for Kenyans. Thank you so much. Chair, from the onset, introduction of the presentation by Honorable Ndindi Nyoro, there is a funny statement I've underlined there, that he has referred this transaction as inferior transaction. That implies from your presentation, you trust out completely. So in fact, like the question Maklab is asking, I think according to you, we should reject this thing outright before even the end of that term. And for us to be able to arrive there, Chair, I'll be able to put some few questions, and don't mind Honorable Ndindi Nyoro, you will find some of our concern will oscillate from what you're putting. Probably you might need to put it better than you already put it. The issue of valuation, this has been a question, a critical question that every other person here has been asking. Even the Cabinet Secretary, we were able to ask him, and he laid his foundation, of course, bringing from the point of view of Section 87A of the PFM Act that recently was amended, which gave powers to the Cabinet Secretary to be able to initiate such transactions outside the state-owned Enterprises Act that we also passed in Parliament. Picking from there, he also, from his presentation, he seems to have relied on that provision to negotiate with an existing shareholder in SAFARICOM, and that is why they are ever at the fore. But I like your thinking outside, because looking at this, it looks like you have relied so much on relative valuation, where you are comparing the market, the behavior of the market. I would wish to know from your knowledge, being expert, combining the intrinsic value, the relative valuation, asset-based valuation, what would be the ideal? Because we are trying to look at the real position of what Kenyans should be able to get, vis-a-vis what we think Treasury has given us the best. Because for any layman person, you will minus 34, minus the current 27, definitely you are making a premium of 7 shillings. I mean for everyone, for every layman. But from your acumen in relative, which I regard it as an ideal market situation. What if this upward by National Treasury is shifted, like from your request, we remove it from the boardroom negotiation, as we called it, and put it to the market, either to the secondary market, Nairobi Stock Exchange, or even invited that it's possible to go outside NSE and go to London Stock Exchange, or New York Stock Exchange for that purpose. What is a certainty? Especially remember, the offer of this is done by the government. And anyone know when by the time the government is coming for it, like the foundation of this, the Cabinet Secretary has passionately expressed the need of divesting on this one, so that we're able to look for resources or find resources to finance the budget that cannot be sustained by the ongoing borrowing, where it has reached a limit. And I've been following you always, you've been telling Kenyans where we've gone high in terms of our borrowing, that it is no more sustainable to keep borrowing. But here is the budget. Here is the budget deficit. I know you've been the chairman of our budget and appropriation, that this country has to run. It has to finance education. It has to finance water. It has to finance the basic social and infrastructural needs. That is why the National Treasury and the government of Kenya has reached out and said, let us exercise what is within us, the assets we have, generate revenue, invest this revenue on these going concern investments, and realize the value later, and of course reduce on the cost of borrowing. Looking at these valuations and the options we have, you've given us that there's no need to hurry. Well, maybe Cabinet Secretary will tell us and I think Chair, looking at this one, we will still need to invite back the National Treasury, Cabinet Secretary, National Treasury, so that some of the questions left by this stakeholder and others who have come here would be able to help us. But from your own understanding, so that Kenyans, our presentation here might draw Kenyans to feel like what is happening here is wrong. Like this thing, as you call it, inferior, is the worst. Kenyans will begin to develop those inciting feelings. And we might, in future, we might be seeing the reactions here and there where we lose even the real cause of why we are doing this one. Chair, the issue of KCB agent, and which it has got my attention, I would really beseech, because this is a committee of the National Assembly, and our honorable member understands that this is more of a quasi-judicial sitting. And whatever is court hears, whatever is being presented here, it calls for that evidence. So that even the report we are doing, we have to inform. We are duty bound as this joint committee to inform the National Assembly to make the right decision, so that we don't make a half-baked. That's why I want to run away from what Chair is saying. Mheshimiwa, you go and you will provide in future some evidence. The information on now is far much more better, because we are a few committee we can sit. If we can get evidence around this, so that it doesn't look like we are just posing, we are troubleshooting and leaving the fire rolling outside there with all proper information. With the respect of this committee, I would call on the information on this one. There is a question of integrity of this buyer. This buyer, in the earlier behavior, which Maklaba has asked, and even me, I was not aware, I'm just listening today, that the shares which were owned by Mobitelea was silently moved. And then it means we have questions to CMA to tell us. CMA was here, we need to call them back and explain to us this one. And there's another statement you've made that there was there's a shareholder who immobilized or ordered. To me, it sounds like economic crime action. And therefore, we have questions on CMA. If possible, because you have expert on this one, so that it doesn't sound like a by-the-way statement or any other political statement, I would request through the chair that our stakeholder, Honorable Ndindi Nyoro, to provide this evidence. The issue, so that I don't repeat what you said much on this, the information on the dealers, that's a big thing. It can be a breaking news that the National Treasury indeed never initiated or they never participated in that boardroom. They had the figures, other imaginary faces who were there sitting down, that we need to know how were they contracted. Were they given express contracted role and responsibility to act on behalf of the government, other than the KCB being what we call the transaction advisor? We have another people from the information you have. And then lastly, this information about Communication Authority of Kenya, that without the board, management sat down and gave express authority to discount what ought to have come to build our economy for the sake of person again who is going to buy. So in any case, we will calculate the loss in terms of value you are giving us, that we are losing. Instead of getting the 390, we are getting 200. So already there is a 190 loss, and then there is another 100 loss in terms of the licenses. So we are losing around 290 billion to get 200 billion. I think your statement initiates that we are actually giving out free, including giving out additional money of around 290 billion. With all this put together, it is wise, and to me it could be prudent, Chair, if we get all this evidence so that this committee can make the right decision to present to the National Assembly and inform the National Assembly to also make the right decision, either to reject it, because you said they don't even need to amend, either to reject it from your point of view or to approve it either way. Thank you.
I think for the rejection and approval, it's for us, and he'll be in the House to do his bit, so I think he should just not respond to that one.